Okay, I hope I hope you can hear me. I'm trying to screen record for a few more minutes so I can upload it. All right, Jeff, I have seen you. You see, that's a beautiful thing about this web design and all these things because it's very exciting when you just hear about it, and but the journey through it is what most people are not willing to go through. So just a recap on today's and last week's lesson and revision. We looked at the Google Forms uh, workspace where we saw different, you have been given different templates that you can use. I earlier mentioned you can build your you can build many things, many digital forms using this Google Forms. You can either build uh, an event registration form, could be a church event, a birthday invite. You want to know how many people are coming by them filling the form. They're coming alone or as a group. You add all of those prompts as questions on the form. Or you can also use it to do like uh, your portfolio, to set up your portfolio, put up your profile. You can put maybe the banner, you can put your image there, or you can even do it without the banner. Let's get into the form. For example, when I go to a section, I can decide to make that section just, I can decide to add an image to a question, like a broad image of myself or a project that I'm working on. So you can use the forms for many different things that with just a link people can access. So yeah, that being said, so I also mentioned now when once you are in the Google Forms workspace, the the cookies symbol that you see here is where you customize your themes to use whether background image or a header image. If you want to, for example, if I take out this header image, I want to replace it, I can just click on choose image. I choose any default image from here. Or if I don't want to choose a default image, I can proceed by going into my computer to choose any image from here, from my uh, maybe desktop, your laptop, whatever. Anywhere your image is saved, whether it's in your Google Drive, you can proceed there to look for it, or by URL, you want to import the image through an URL link, you go ahead. All right, so I'll just return back to the image that I had. You can change the font type, font size for the header, for the questions, for the texts itself. You can change the sizes and the font types. When you click the drop down arrows, you have the options to choose from. But I think for the Google Forms, the maximum you have for the header is size 24, and for question size 18, and for text, which is literally what the users will input when using your form, will be size 12, on size 12. So that's basically it with these the themes or the themes. So now I spoke about the right menu that you have here on your Google Forms and all the buttons that are available there. Now, the plus sign is where you add a question based on the section that you are. So I'm in section 1 of 7. So there are 7 sections in total that we've added to this form. So while in section 1, I have one question here that says name. If I want to add another question, I just have to click on the plus sign and another question will pop up here. Now, how you want your users to respond to your questions is up to you. If you want them to respond, uh, the answers to be in the form of multiple choice, you provide them multiple choice answers, or check boxes. If you want them to, have, they can answer, give different answers, not just one or two. Or you want them to answer in the format of a paragraph or a short answer. We usually use short answers when we are dealing with names, phone number, some questions that just require a quick answer. But when you want something like you want to go a little further, like detailed explanation from the users, you can use a paragraph response. For example, why would you want to attend this event? So such questions would definitely require a paragraph response. And so I'm still on this drop down. So you can choose to upload a file, like you want to attach a file that you want to reference the file. Maybe you want people to see that file, then before responding to your question, whatever. So this drop down arrow, which is right, the top right of your question box, you have the option to choose how you want the question to be structured, or the responses to be structured. And yeah, so the plus sign is basically to add a question, and we spoke about how to, manipulate or organize your question and answer. And then you can delete using the delete key. Maybe if what I have done here is similar to what I'd want to do below, especially if I'm using a paragraph or the same uh, things are required from the users. I may just duplicate. When I click on this, it duplicates the page or the question, excuse me. It duplicates the question. And I also mentioned another very important thing. If you are conversant with, or you've been filling a lot of, or a few online forms, you probably would have come across forms that they asked you to, or some fields are required, meaning you can't either submit the form or go to the next question or next page or next field without answering the required question. And how do we do that on Google Forms? By checking the required field. It will turn from gray to blue. So, well, this is how you make any field as a required field, meaning compulsory. And a few instances that you want to use this would be, maybe you're asking for a person's name for an event that requires their names. Most events will do their phone numbers because you want to keep in touch with them, so you need their numbers. Emails, in some cases, so you want to keep those ones as required. So you could be like, oh, I don't have this person's number. How do I communicate with them? And the next, so in case it's a question that is optional, for example, I mentioned age. In some cases, you may not necessarily need their ages, even though you may want it, just to have more detailed information. But you can choose to keep, maybe age or date of birth. You can choose to keep it optional. Those who are comfortable with it can go ahead. But if it's a form that needs their age, you keep it as required. You keep it as required. So moving on to the next item on this side. Okay, I'll just deal first with the question issue, and once just get it all done. All right, so still on the question, there's an important thing I would like to mention here on the multiple choice is the conditional option. I would like to repeat that again. For example, if let's say the question here was,
Please, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you said if we want to add more question, where should I press to?
Okay, if you want
Like
to
if you
add
want to
more,
upload.
yeah, if you want to add more questions, I gave you two options. The the standard way is by clicking here. Once you move your mouse to any of these buttons or almost every button here, they give you a brief uh the title of the or what the button does, a brief description of the button. So like here, when you go to the plus sign, you see add question. Once I click here, a new question have been added.
Okay. Yes.
If I need the information or part of the informations that are on this question, I don't want to add a complete new question. I'll just have to click here, duplicate question. So I just make a duplicate. The original one stays, while I have a new version of it, a copied version of it that I can proceed to just edit. I hope that is clear. Mm,
Yes, thank you.
mhm. All right. So that's how you add questions. And I was talking about the conditional statement. I also mentioned that conditional statements are very much useful when you're dealing with different or they are only applicable, especially when you're dealing with multiple sections or you really enjoy the beauty of those. For example, when if I ask a question here, we've added too many okay, let's say I asked a question here like uh, I'm inviting someone for an event. Then I ask a question like I'm coming, or for example, are you coming alone? Will you be coming alone? So if I ask a question like that, and this is just an example, I will go to multiple choice. I will say yes. I'll give the users an option to say yes or no. So those are the two options. Now, this is section two. Depending on the answer that the person provides here, I should be able to structure my registration form, excuse me, structure my registration form in a way that uh, it will be easy to navigate. So, for example, if I ask, "Are you coming alone?" and the user says yes, let me just try to refresh the preview of the form so we can also be seeing what we are doing. Will you be coming alone? Okay. So let's say the user says yes. There should be a difference between someone who says yes and someone who says no. Now, let's go back to the form. If a user says yes, what should happen? There should be a follow-up question. For example, I can say this is a point where you make you know the beautiful structuring out of these conditional statements. Will you be coming alone? So go to section based on answer. Don't forget this. Go to section based on answer. This is found at the three dots in the extreme right below the three dots. So you click there, go to section based on answer. Then you will see this will pop up where you can be able to place a condition. Now we have different sections. Again, this only works when you have already created a section that you want the viewers to go to. So you start by creating those sections, which we create sections using these two horizontal lines here to add a section. Once you click here, a new section is added to your form. And each section opens on a separate page. Whether you're using a mobile phone, view the form, or you're using a desktop, whatever, each section only opens on its own page. Whether it's just one question or 10 questions, it will be on its own page. All right. Uh, where were we now? Section. We're in section two. All right. Uh, will you become alone? Okay, section one. So go to section based on answer. Again, this is where we set this. If I come here now and say, if the person says yes, right? I'll go. Let me just go to section two now and say, and add a follow up to that question. So will you be coming alone? If the person says no, for example, I'll say, how many of you? How many of you in total? Or how many of you will be attending in total? You can put the details there. How many of you in total, or how many persons in total? No. Once you put that, now we have a follow-up question to that one in section two. This question should only pop up if a person says no. So this question has nothing to do with the person who says yes, I'm coming alone. So we go back now. Will you be coming alone? Go to section based on answer. If the person says yes, they will skip this section and go to section three. What's the description of section three? Untitled section. So this one could just be another follow-up uh, or a general uh, next step once you're done with the previous steps. So this one can just be like, okay, purpose for section three can just be like, or more details. Can just say more details. These are just examples. So let me add a question now. It can just be a follow-up question like, uh, where are you coming from, or where do you live? Whatever. So based on the form you're filling. So I just wanted to create this section so we have what to use in this conditional. All right. So will you be coming alone? Yes. Once the person says yes, they will proceed to section three. In bracket, the bracket is the title of or the description of or the title of the section. So if you say yes, I'll be coming alone, go to section three. That's a condition for you. So this person will not see section two. It will skip. If you say no, you go to section two. Because now, since you said no, so tell us how many of you in total? I don't know if this is much more understandable now. So let's refresh the preview so you see what I'm talking about. You ask for the name. I also talked about the required stuff. For now, I'm just keeping it so we can proceed. Will you be coming alone? If I say yes, I will go straight to section three. You'll see something. We go straight to more details section, which is section three. Now let me go back. Will you be coming alone when I say no? You take us to the section that says how many of you in total. I go next. You see how many of you in total, which is found in section two. I applied this in one of the Edulinear registration forms, which says, are you registering for yourself or for someone else? If you say for yourself, then it just proceeds to the next section. The section that is for someone else, you won't see it. For example, if you are registering for someone else. So when you say you're registering for someone else, there's a different section that will come up first before you proceed to the normal sections now that for someone who is registering for themselves. So conditional form statements and splitting sections for your form can really set your form, you know, to have a different view, set your form apart from any other regular creators. So that's how you deal with conditional uh, questions or conditional questions on your Google Forms. Do we have any question on that? Do we have any question on that? I'm sure I've taken my time to explain in more details this time. Okay, so that's how conditional questions work. Firstly, you do them using multiple choice option. You can't try to do conditional stuff when you're doing short answer. It could be the response section after the or the next section, but not the conditional. For example, let's see if it works for drop down. It works also for drop down option. Anything that gives people multiple choice or different options to choose from, you can apply the conditional. Let's see checkbox. For checkbox, it doesn't have, so you can only use that for the multiple choice or drop down fields or options. All right. So the next, so we've spoken, we've talked on the add question, we've talked on add a section, and the rest are basically easy. For example, import a question. You rarely use this except you probably already have a different form that you want to, for example, you see like this form. So maybe I want to import some sections or questions from this form, then I click here, the whole thing comes into the current form that I'm working on. So that's how you use that button. So import questions or add title and description. So each section by default has its title. This is the title of this section, and this is a description. The description is optional. So the title tells the people what requirements are there or what is required of them or your users. So if you want to add a description, I can just click here and I'll have one more title and description. If I click again, they give me another option. I want to add more titles and descriptions. But remember, titles and descriptions don't give your users anything to respond to. You are just telling them or you're just putting out an information to them. You're just describing something. So titles and descriptions will be very much useful when maybe when you're building your portfolio, personal portfolio, where you don't need people to respond from by answering any questions. So you are literally just selling yourself, describing what you have done, your projects, putting out images. So those ones, when you're building your portfolio, you mostly be using descriptions, not questions, on this same platform, and you don't necessarily need sections. You don't necessarily need sections. You just need one section to put everything there in details. All right. So, but you can have different descriptions or titles under one section. Just take note of that. So, in case you want to build your portfolio, you just have to keep adding more descriptions. For example, work experience. You put the work experience, you can describe uh, the things you did for the job. You can use bullet points, list your job, uh, your task, the things that you did, and all of that. So, we use bullets. So, I'm just putting anything here. All right. So, I just gave you another tip. If you want to build a portfolio or an online CV, digital CV, where you just have to use links to send to people. You can keep adding more descriptions. Excuse me. You can keep adding more descriptions until you are done. So when you're building a portfolio, don't use questions. Take note of that. Image is a simple thing. This is also very much important for illustrations. You want to add an image that you're showing your viewers, you're explaining about certain things, and you want them to see maybe a sketch. If it's your portfolio you're building, maybe your project files, you want to add certain files at certain points in your portfolio. Then video, similar to uh, image, go ahead and add a video. You can choose from uh, maybe YouTube, post the YouTube URL here, and upload it to your form. Excuse me. So if you have any question, you can go ahead and ask, leave it. Or if you're watching the video after the recording, after the class, you can leave your question in the comment section, and I'll go ahead and see how to respond to you. Okay, so I guess we all are clear on using conditional questions and navigating from one section to another based on users' responses on the Google Forms registration form questions. We all are good with that, right? So now, again, I spoke about going back to your home forms, use forms home, click here, the extreme left, top extreme left, you click here, then you can change the form title directly from here. Um, Now, when people fill your form, this is with the back end now. This is where you see the responses. And in most cases, you can be able to export those responses as an Excel sheet. Let me see if I have. All right. So, like for the web design course, these are the responses. I got 9 responses. I can export this now as an Excel sheet. You see, these are the details. I'll just close that. I don't want people to see the full details. So you can export this as an Excel sheet if you want and print it out. Let's go back to the form we're using. Okay, so this we have responses and we have settings. Now, the last thing I would like to point out here is for those who fill the registration form for this class, you had probably a thank you message, at the end when you were done. So this is where you program that. You see presentation under the presentation uh, tab. You have other options here which you can go ahead to explore. So you come to edit confirmation message. You can edit it here. You can add more details like, oh, thank you for filling, or thank you for your response. We'll get back to you, or our team will get back to you within 24 hours or within 2 working days. And if you have any question, you can reach out to us through or via our email. You can add the email handle there, and you can use that to reach out to you. So you can change it, add whatever you want to add. It's up to you. Once you're done, click save. So this question appears only after the users have clicked submit and they have submitted the form. That's when they get this. It's a beautiful thing. I will encourage everyone to make use of it because it's good to know that you're done filling a form and you receive a warm thank you. So basically, that's the Google Forms registration form. Add sections, add questions, configure the responses of the questions. Or if you're building a portfolio, you just keep adding uh, descriptions, keep adding titles and descriptions. For example, under work experience, you add this, add that, and on and on and on. And once you're done with your form, you want to share it, or in case you make a mistake, you can use your Control Z on your or Command Z on your keyboard, depending on the keyboard you're using. Control Z for Windows, Command Z for uh, iOS. Then this is your undo and redo. The preview button of your form. The cookie sign is where you change the color theme, banner image, font sizes, font type. That's where you do all of that. And then once you're done, you want to share the link of your form. I would always advise to shorten the link, especially if you're not using it on web pages. If you're using the link on a web page, let's say a website where you want to embed the form on the website through the link, don't shorten the link, copy the whole thing. Mostly it will return an error. But if you're just sharing the link, via WhatsApp or whatever, you can go ahead and shorten the link before you copy it. You can share to your users, whether on social media or whatever. And that's how you share your form. And then this one, I already published it. So just in case uh, you had not published your form, you can go ahead and do that. And I promise to show you one more thing this week from here. You can see here Edulinia contact. Now, if I want to share this form with someone who can also be able to edit the form, which I would advise you to do if you have like different emails for backup purpose. So I can add my other email here and share the form with my other email account. So it will be saved in my other drive. But actually, the best way to make a good backup is by creating a copy, which I'll show you shortly. But when you add a different email, you can go ahead and you can choose to, if you want the person to just be a responder or an editor. If I want myself to be another editor, maybe a different email, which is what I've selected, then I click send, and I can edit this form using my different email address. I just have to open my Google Drive on that email and then access the form. I'll be able to fill it or edit it. And yeah, so basically that's it. Anyways, uh, so that's it. And like, okay, I wanted to show you guys on how to do a proper backup. So if you want to back up your form, you would want to create a copy of it. Hmm, how do we do that again? In a while.